I made a video today that was the result of somebody posting a bunch of vague and quasi wannabe mysterious and clever statements. This person's done a lot of this over the last few weeks, and I decided to make a productive video out of a very non-productive rabbit holing. But I'm going to read their assertions, and it's also included way below the links in the other video, but we'll do it here. The world operates in fiction. It shouldn't be news. Okay? That's not a response to the video I posted. The third consecutive 70-year international bankruptcy ended in 1999. Okay. This is based on someone finding out that there's a piece of the Bible in the copy they had that said that Jews were imprisoned in or exiled into an area for 70 years. And then when you look it up, it's actually not agreed upon how long it was, but it could be as low as 60 years. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say 60 years or longer. And then the person said this is a magic number and that it's directly related. This is actually another person, not the one I'm responding to. And that other person that will remain nameless, that was locked up for breaking laws and being incompetent in court, claimed that the United States has to use a 70-year period of time based on the Jews being locked up for 70 years, even though that's not actually necessarily true. And the person claimed for the year 1999 backwards, for 210 years, there were 3 bankruptcies. Actually, the new claim is 4, but who's counting? And they decided to create yet another bankruptcy on their list so they could claim the United States is constantly bankrupt no matter how convoluted it gets. And I went into discussing in the video why that doesn't make sense, and I went through it. But the basic thing is it doesn't have to be a 70-year period of time. And the exact quote that was used to justify this claim by the person making the assertion, it's the only source for it, by the way, was that under the Anglo rules of bankruptcy, which don't exist except by this person's own assertion, a nation can go into bankruptcy for 70 years. Or 71. So it's 210 or 213 or 266 or whatever. And that's it. So you take a specific year the person came up with and then go backwards. And then anything that happened in that same year has to be part of the conspiracy, including needing to shove the Rothschilds into it and Ben Franklin by literally lying about what year something happened or when they were born or if they were alive at the time. And it's a long, convoluted mess. Now, to review here. Claiming that there was a bankruptcy requires that you find some record of it. The only one that's actually a reference point is that the United States owed France money at one point. And then the person who made the original quote misquotes the entire history of what happened subsequently, as agreed to by France, the United States, and even England, and then quoted that the Rothschilds did something in a certain year when literally they weren't involved in anything in that year. The only people involved in the family did it later. And we're not involved in this one thing. So it's literally just throwing Rothschilds and debt into your mythology. You're making an alternate history for some fun thing. Maybe you're going to make a sci-fi movie next. Next, claim. Miller was an Article 3 chief federal judge who never lost a case. David Wynn Miller was never a judge, especially an Article 3 judge. Article 3 judges are nominated by the President of the United States and then have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate, and this is done publicly. There isn't any such thing as this being not public, because that violates the whole ability for an Article 3 to happen, to exist, according to one side. Now, if you're claiming it's some other Article 3 thing, this is another person, right? No, this is my original commenter here, the one who caused me to go look all this stuff up. You're not stating which one, so I'm looking up the one that would actually mean something. So the claim will also be then later, if I actually listen to this person again, oh, well, it was done the same way, but it wasn't that type. It's a secret one. So now we have a secret society of judges or something. And then the claim when that doesn't work is, well, it was done through the postal system because I said so. Next assertion that, again, if you're not aware of it, the assertion made here about him being a federal judge of any kind is a lie. It's not a mistake. And an Article 3 judge is a lie as well. People like invoking seemingly authoritative speech like that very often because they got punished. We're going to write you up while you're in the military under an article whatever. And you can hear that in movies and see it in books and see it on TV and actually hear it from people. Oh, it's a magic word or incantation. No, article such and such of uniform military law might say such and such. It just means they're vaguely referring to something. I want to bring this up. One of the other statements, telling me to argue with the World Court in The Hague when I point out that only decisions that are agreed upon by all parties are enforceable. Obviously, this would have to be an agreement that you're talking about. You're not telling me what year it happened in, so you're being vague on purpose. So I have to go look it up. So I did. I made a video that was productive because you wouldn't be. Next, there isn't any English language other than Dog Latin. And then the person says, I'm uninformed. Dog Latin, if you're not aware of it, is the hocus pocus words that are used in Harry Potter. Dog Latin refers to calling a coyote in a cartoon ravenous speedy footus or something silly like that. It's a way of mocking Latin or its usage. In the court system and also in other setups, people will use real Latin words to be very precise about things, or they will use Latin words or names to make an allusion to something. I'm going to bring up an example that's my favorite. In the TV show Star Trek, the whole series, all of the different ones, there's an expression, Darmok and Jalard at Tanagra. I use that every once in a while, but I'm going to explain it. Jean-Luc Picard, the head of one ship, meets the head of another ship. This head of this ship orders his crew, I'm translating, to lock up both ships so they can't leave, beam them both down to the planet, and have them hash it out because he recognizes it's an argument between myself and that captain, Picard, and they're not able to communicate because they don't speak the same way. On a very basic level, conceptually speaking, they can't. Eventually, Picard realizes that they're not communicating using words the way we do. They make allusions to things. You know, like habeas corpus. Most of you can look up habeas corpus and get it completely wrong what it really refers to. It says produce the body, but that doesn't cover it. The entire concept, all of the nuances of it. There is a little bit more detail there. And this amounts to a coded language. This is a good claim to make, but you can look it up and find out what it refers to. In the legal system, or in the legal sense, it means a specific thing. And in the Star Trek universe, Darmok and Jalad refers to that sort of communication. If I say, this is boiling the frog, or a slippery slope, these are allusions or metaphors for something. Beyond the pale is another one. You end up having to look this crap up. It's not clear speech. But when you find out what it means, and you can find out it means something very complicated or very simple. In the case of Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, it refers to this TV show in Star Trek where these two individuals realized that nothing was going to get done if they couldn't communicate in a common way. The legal system having wordings and expressions in it that are opaque to the average user is not helpful. And you may have heard the expression, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. The other part of that axiom is, ignorance of the law is, however, a valid defense. If you obscure or hide a law or a ruling from people and expect them to be able to follow it, you're a fool or a criminal or a tyrant. I'm directly quoting David Wynn Miller here, by the way, when he was being sentient for a few minutes. No, I'm not going to tell you where I got the citation from because none of you assholes ever do when you come in here with this crap. So let's have this little heart-to-heart. Sovereign citizens walk into a room where plain English is being spoken and demand that we use new grammar rules to completely obscure what the fuck is being talked about, but only they know what the real rules are. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. I have invoked it. In a Star Trek universe, where most of us geeks are. I've done the equivalent of telling you you're doing the thing you're accusing others of doing, which is a common trope. Everyone understands that. I wonder how many times Epstein accused other people of that activity. When you do the thing you claim you're trying to fix. So let's review. We're providing you this secret language that's a magic set of words, hocus pocus words, that causes an entire courtroom to shiver and the judge to be terrified because you know the secret passwords and stuff that's only talked about in hushed secret meetings. Now this is also based on the claim that there's two kinds of law or abstraction levels. I write code in binary on a computer. On any one computer I can learn how to master it and control it. HP 41 calculator, no problem. An old 8086 processor or Z80, no problem. I can actually write code in it. If I want to write something that'll work on everything, write it once, run it on many or all machines, I can write it in Java, JavaScript, some high-level language. The level of abstraction between me controlling where the positions of the floppy or hard drive head are is very hard up here. But if I go down here into low level, these are drivers. I can write drivers. I'm qualified to do that sometimes. Very badly these days. Probably wouldn't be able to do it even if I had to. But at one time I could. But that meant I had total control over the computer, but couldn't get anything done if the computer I worked on next had enough differences that I couldn't control it. That's why programs are written in this higher level. We have a pile of these low-level programs down here called the operating system, whether it's Mac OS, Windows, Linux, whatever. And the presumption that these people are making is very similar to, not identical, to a person claiming to be a hacker who's found out how to get below the operating system, down here at the API level, application programming interface level, or below that, in the machine level, or the microcode level. If you're not aware of it, microcode is the stuff written inside of the chip. You usually can't access it, but sometimes you could. It's fun, but it ends up looking really, really obscure and nobody understands it but you. So the proof is in the pudding. Their claim is by using these invoked words, you can win. And every one of these people who make these claims loses court case after court case by impersonating being a judge, by lying about everything else, by redefining what the words mean so they don't have to be wrong. So up now means down. And this form of Satan-level lying is something they admire. So when someone says the world operates in fiction, from your point of view, I'm sure it does. You're soaking in it. And demanding that I accept that the United States has gone bankrupt consecutively 3 times for 70 years each for some blasted reason, when if I look it up, I only find a person making these assertions who's lost every case and been jailed. You claiming that someone's an Article 3 chief federal judge when looking it up finds out that there's no way he could be without us knowing it already. You making an assertion that I should talk to the World Court in The Hague when it has no bearing on the subject matter. You asserting that the English language is, well, a dog Latin when you're creating one by making a mockery, not of Latin, but the English language by recoding it into something that's not usable. None of you have ever won a case. You simply show up and say, well, this judge has won hundreds of cases, or he's never lost a case. Now he's never lost a case. That means he's never actually had to do so. Also, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but you're claiming a judge was prosecuting a case. Judges are supposed to be neutral. In your world, judges are the opponent of the accused. That's a pretty shitty system you want to make us use because of your fancy magic word claims that don't work, that are based on people who literally lie about when Ben Franklin existed or when the Rothschilds existed, claiming the Rothschilds did something in some year when they weren't alive yet. They weren't even doing that. They weren't in that part of the world. Lies, misinterpretations, and basically ignorance-driven shit. And you want to be taken seriously by coming to this channel. So I did take you seriously. I made an entire video of nothing but assertions that are accurate and then debunked the bullshit. Most of it. You, however, don't deserve that treatment. you deserve to be ignored. Good day.